All right, so continuing, there are of course some other business models. One of them is the STOF model, which you're also allowed to use for your practical assignment. But first we'll go again into some of the details of business modeling. So here you can see, well, why would you do business modeling? So one of the, that's a bit quick. So you can see, well, one of the things that you could look at is, for instance, okay, what's been the historical role of my organization? Also for looking at, for instance, infrastructure. If you need a faster internet connection for your company, yeah, you better have to. You need a good business case and business model for why you would want to do that. Also, when you're supplying to or cooperating with a private party, or you're trying to convince an investor why they should invest in your company, well, then this is business modeling is important. Also, preparation for an investment decision. So first you have to have your business model clear, and then you can ask for money from an investor through a business case. And also to facilitate, simplify, and unify comparison of countries, services, etc. So of course, important here is, okay, business modeling is something that's much broader than just business. Like I said before, you can also do it from the point of an organization. So don't worry about it being only focused on companies. University, for instance, also has a business model. So here you can see how the concepts connect. So you first see the business model. Business model is a very generic way of looking at the company. But then you start looking at more business case. So business case could be, well, if we had €1 million, then we could do all kinds of interesting marketing. And then we could make 2 million more revenue. And then with that business case, you have to make a business plan, how you will execute it, what numbers you need, and go into more detail. And I think this is a really nice way of looking at it. It's, you will see also if you ever start your own business, then you have sort of a business model in your head, but the business plan is the one that actually contains, for instance, your pricing model and the total offering. Let me see, so typically a plan to convince decision makers and investors. It also includes operational processes and track records of the management team. The idea is anything that makes a business plan stronger. For instance, also the experience of the team is valuable to add. Well, then value webs. Value webs are also, of course, a really interesting way of looking at the world. Value webs are very similar to the software supply networks that we saw earlier. So basically they show you sort of how the value within an ecosystem flows. And of course, you have sort of this end receiver, so who are the end users, and you have the creators of the value. And you have to sort of see the whole flow. So if you look at this cup, how did it get here? It got here because I stole it here from the university kitchen. But it got here, of course, through a network of suppliers and a manufacturer, and probably it was made in Union Pacific tableware. I have no idea where it's made, but probably somewhere in China. And it was transported here, and you can see here relations, who delivers to who. What is the flow of money? Well, the money went from the university to a company, to another company, to another company, all the way down to the person who delivered the resources or the paint for this. So parties, well, which party is best capable? So that's also something you constantly have to think about. Of course, if you have to choose between two partners, and one partner is half the price of the other partner and is next door, obviously that's the better party for you, the better partner to work with. And then of course power. Power is something we will also talk about a lot later. Where's the power in your value web? Which roles are you required to get started? And which corporations are essential for a good service delivery? So think, for instance, of the cyclists who are cycling around Deliveroo type food. So these are the food delivery agents are companies of their own. And you need a good cooperation with them, because otherwise they will spit on the food or deliver pizzas always late. So value webs are something that are sort of expanding beyond the scope of a traditional business model. Business model typically doesn't look much further than, okay, these are my suppliers and these are my customers, and I link them together. But if you look at the whole value web, you can also start thinking, hey, my supplier is great, but I would much rather own this supplier or another supplier, or own this part of the process, so that I can monitor a particular type of quality. Some of you may know that one of the biggest companies in China is actually delivering the iPhones. And I was always wondering, maybe it's better for Apple to actually buy that company and not outsource this kind of activity all the time. All right, so what are the 4 domains of the STOF business model? Well, the STOF stands for Service, Organization, Technical, and Financial. And yeah, it's basically giving you yet another view on your business model. So the service domain is really, okay, how do I service my customer? The organization domain is, okay, how does my organization look to facilitate these things? Technical domain, of course, is for us information scientists extra relevant. Do we have a system like Alibaba's supply chain system or SAP, where we connect everybody together? And then, of course, the financial domain, how do we deal with the money? Do we need banks to, for instance, finance the airplanes that we are flying? You see the detailed descriptions. Was there anything I want to mention here? Yeah, maybe. I mean, once again, for an information scientist, it's always interesting to think about the technical stuff. So, okay, how do you? What's your technical architecture that facilitates the value delivery? So, well, there's of course some interesting things to think about. How do I communicate with my customers? Do I have a newsletter? Do I have a customer relationship management system? Do I have a supply chain management system? If a customer is always unhappy about the supply that he or she got, how do we connect the supply chain system with the customer relationship management system? These are very typical business problems that you will probably end up solving during your career as well. So that's the STOF business model. So why value modeling and STOF? Well, all the obvious reasons. So you have a structured approach again, similar to the BMC. I think it's not better than the business model canvas per se, but it's definitely something that gives you yet another perspective. And I think that could be important, especially this power model. Later on, we will also talk about power models. And yeah, it just identifies key roles, generates strategic alternatives and scenarios in a way that the business model canvas doesn't do so well. So I think that's something we can definitely look at, and that the STOF model gives us a little bit more. So here you can see a nice toolbox, also yet again another model. This is the eHIX.nl toolbox. So here you can also see all the different problems that a company should be dealing with according to the eHIX model. So here you can see inventory, design, experiments, pilots, implementation. So that's sort of the process that you go through as you're going through a new product delivery. And on the left you see again STOF, Service, Technology, Organization, and Finances. And here you can see sort of the different things that are relevant here. So if you're making your own, if you're starting your own company, this is something you should definitely look at. You could also use this for your own for your own case study. So if your case study is Amazon, then looking at all these 20 boxes might be really interesting. All right, so finally a couple of more exotic techniques. What we're seeing here. Where's my mouse? I can't control QuickTime anymore. Why not? Next in charge. Well, the Board of Innovation is also really interesting. They have this model that's quite similar to value chains, but they have this really cool way of modeling it. It's not very popular, and I don't recommend that you use it, but it's one that you might want to see. So here they show the business model for the, what are they called? Somali pirates, who are trying to, in the Arabian Gulf, are trying to capture ships and take them hostage. So you can see here that the Somali pirates, they are exposing and driving fear into Western national navies. They get right to pirate from the local coast guards because they are not doing anything, for which the Somali pirates pay a very big bribe. Again, they try to get the shippers. It's about 150 million, let me see, per year. So on average, about 5.4 million per boat that they make. So you can see that they're very good at extorting these shippers. The shippers themselves also hire the security people on board. So you can see here, 800 million is spent on that. So apparently that's also a very good business. Then you have, of course, the insurance companies that are also making a bit of money here. They have to pay the final bribes and are getting also very good revenue for it. And then you have these private security contractors that are also trying to provide safety to the shippers. So it's, I think, a really nice way of modeling it. One of the things I like here is also that you see money. So you see that the insurance companies are the big money makers here. that resonates with how it typically goes. Here you see the same model for Dropbox. It was initially started by the Board of Innovation, but I think this organization is no longer up and running, so I don't think we can take anything from them. But it shows you yet another way of modeling value webs, and I think that's worthwhile. Okay, so now you've seen some pretty exotic formats for modeling your business model, and it's up to you to see which one you like best. But what I think is really important that you try to create a comprehensive perspective. So you try to look at a business model from every which way. And of course, the technology aspect is something that I think is sort of underemphasized, and especially in this class, I want you to focus on that. All right, so that's quite a load of knowledge. I think for now this will be it for traditional business models. The next lecture will be about web-based business models. So it will really be about, okay, what kind of business model can I start when I have particular technology available. I think, for instance, about something as simple as Alibaba, Amazon, or think about Marktplaats. These are, fairly simple business models, but of course there are much more complicated business models. Think about Google, which if you think you're the customer of Google, you're wrong. You're not the customer of Google, those are the advertisers. These are the things you also need to think about. Okay, I hope you had fun, and good luck with your next lectures, and of course the practicum assignment that is associated with this lecture.